Alright you guys, in this quick video, we are gonna get right into shrinkage, why it's important, why we sample sew, and different methods that are available when you're shrinkage testing. So one of the main things, the reasons for doing shrinkage testing would mainly be how the garment shrinks down to size, right? So it starts out really big. Denim specifically if we're talking about denim, it'll start out one way and then it'll shrink down to another measurement, right? So what we're trying to do with the patterns is we're trying to compensate for the shrinkage. But not all, the garments don't really shrink in all the same places, depending on how the construction is. A more traditional way of checking shrinkage would be you grab the piece of fabric that you're working with, right? And then this is just for example, you grab your marker and then you make a little box. And then you would measure out, 10 by 10 or 5 or whatever measurement you want to do. And you would just do your little box like this, right? And then you do this, right? And then this measures 5 this way, and then 5 this way. And then the idea is that you're gonna go send it out to get washed, and then with the results, you'll come back and then you'll measure, oh, actually on the width, it only shrank a ½ inch, and on the length, it shrank 3 inches, right? So then with the results here, you would then apply it to the pattern, and then you'd be like, okay, so my length shrunk this much and my width shrunk that much. That's the traditional way of doing shrinkage. We don't do it this way. This way, we found out that it's it just doesn't really work, and it's not really exact, because this is a free piece of fabric, right? Like, it's just a cloth. But when you have a garment that's constructed, there are certain areas where it will shrink different, right? Depending on how much stitching is on it. So this is just like a quick sample. As you can see, all on the fly area and on the rise, there is multiple seams, right? And if this is a flat felt seam, it would just shrink less. This is a fly, so this would shrink even less. Versus other pieces, maybe on the legs, where it's like just free fabric and then it could shrink to size. So this is why we don't do our shrinkage testing like this. We do it on actual garments. And the key here is that what we do is that we just add our suggested shrinkage. We'll add 2 inches on the width, 1 inch on the length, maybe add a little to the rise, something like that with what I seem to shrink, and then send it out to wash. And when it comes back, usually it's kind of there, and then we'll do the minor touches on the facing or whatever the adjustment requires, the rise, stuff like that. But at least you have something that works, right? So now that we covered the different types of shrinkage, now I'm gonna talk about why it's really important to garment wash or test for shrinkage with all the finished pieces, right? So this right here is just a quick mock-up that we did because we were testing out different types of pocket lining. So maybe to you can see the issue right away when I'm laying it down. I'll give you a second. If you can figure out what's wrong with it, comment down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I'll give you a second. But if you didn't figure it out, the issue here is the facing. I don't know if you can kind of see it, but it's really wrinkled here and it's not wrinkled here. You might be like, oh, well, it's wrinkled here. Isn't that just part of the look? Well, yes and no, right? That is true, but it's too much shrinkage going on there. So this is why we always recommend, we already know how this fabric's shrinking. We have a pattern set up for it. We have everything that we need for this. The only thing is that we wanted to switch pocket lining. But when you switch pocket lining, it might be something really minor to some, but it's really important to test the garment one last time before you start production. You might be like, oh, well, just get into production. The last thing you want is to get into a production where you spend, I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40 grand, and then something's off because we didn't run a test or you didn't want to run a test, which we wouldn't actually do the work unless we run a test. So what's happening here is that we have two different pocket linings, and then the one on the left is shrinking this way. So all this excess fabric means that on this particular pocket lining, the shrinkage is more on the length. And what it's doing is that it's causing the fabric to bunch up. So this isn't a pressing, I can't press it down. This I can't do. It always wants to come back because the pocket, you can't even see it here, but it's shrinking as a unit more this way than the denim itself. On this one is a different type of pocket lining that we were trying to use. And you see how flat and smooth that is? On the outside or on the inside, it looks exactly the same. But the shrinkage is matching the body. Why this stuff is important is because it could change the rise measurement overall. If both of these were like this, now we're removing all of this, right? This right here is a quarter. You're probably removing a ½ inch total from your length measurement. And that could come out in the rise, that could come out just however it wants to manifest itself, it will, and you'll see it. And you'll be like, why is this happening? It's because the pocket lining shrinkage is different than the self. Unlike this side, right? So you want to make sure that the pocket lining does shrink 1-to-1 or damn near to the self fabric. You might be like, okay, well what if I'm dead set, I already spent the money on the fabric, I have to use this pocket lining, what do we do? Well, what you do is you grab all your fabric, the pocket lining, and you cut them in blocks. And you send those blocks out to get rinsed. And then that'll remove all the shrinkage. And then when we get it back, it'll be in a roll. And then we'll go ahead and cut out the pocket lining and then sew it onto the garment. And then it'll get sent out complete. The shrinkage has already been removed on the pocket lining, so it'll be less than what it is than this. So it'll be, the reaction will be okay. It'll end up looking like this. I know it's a lot of information. It's really important for you guys to understand all the steps that go into and why you can't miss any steps. And if you're not informed about this, then luckily you guys found us, and then we could spread our knowledge to you guys and so on. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you did, hit that subscribe, like it, share it, do all the nice things so we could get this channel up from the ground and share it to other people. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time.